자 Mass still lost some moody them locks to the footy freedom mocha if you see freak to us kill go to last minute now see over proud of jama to the most don't watch this so better trash compy for this quarter half time.
Welcome back. We're back on the air, my friend, for episode 2 of this bad boy that we've decided to start here, this misadventure that we've embarked on.
Good to be back, everyone. We got some good stuff this week, so let's get right into it.
We've decided to actually shift some things just a little bit, just because we just started. We're kind of trying to figure out what the best format to figure out would be. So, Bryce, before anything, I think we've lost the focus here, Bryce. You see, the focus should be we need to get to the top, Bryce. We need to get right to the top, Bryce. We need to set goals. We need to know who we can capture, who we can get on this show eventually. Our plan needs to be eventually to get somebody on this show.
Okay.
The question is, who though?
I mean, you already know my answer.
I mean, there's so many. It could be the Cooters. It could be.
I mean, I'd always fault with the Cooters.
The Cooters is a fair one. But I'm over here thinking, see, the Cooters makes current day videos. The Cooters, at least current day, C-tier anime shitposter. We need somebody who's below that, somebody who hasn't been heard from in ages. What if we
Are
got...
you talking about the legend himself?
What if we got Demo?
Would he even come out of his hole to come talk to us is the question. What does
Wouldn't
Demo
that-
even do nowadays?
I think he streams on Twitch, but if we got Demo to come out of his hole to interview on this show, to talk about what his favorite animes are and his favorite anime titties, I think we could slingshot ourselves into the spotlight. The only issue is we need enough clout to get to the point where we can ask Demolition D to
I don't even
come
know,
on a shitty podcast.
I don't even know what medium you could communicate with him on, since his Discord got nuked like a year ago.
Yeah, it sure did, didn't it? The only way I could think would be like maybe Twitter DMs, or maybe we send like an SOS message to him. If we have like we need like a centralized idea of where he is, and maybe we'll send one of those sort of planes with the banners in the back, and we'll be like, Demo, please come onto our podcast. Now we have to hope that he's outside and he's looking up at the sky at that time, which is kind of the flaw in the plan.
That's doubtful.
That's
very
true.
doubtful.
That's very doubtful.
The only time he probably opens up his window is like, I don't know, get some light in the house when he's feeding his lizards, maybe.
Then the only other plan I see to get Demolition D on would be to go to the artist that he follows directly. All the hentai artists, Bryce. And
so many.
We have to get one of them to include our message in their art.
I feel like we could just DM him on Twitter.
Like a hidden message.
I feel like he uses Twitter enough.
Okay. Well, that's one solution to the problem. I was over here thinking we'd start like a national treasure sort of adventure for him, where like he notices like, hey, what's that in this hentai art? And then he starts digging, and then he keeps digging, and he keeps finding all these clues. It's like an ARG, but it leads back to us.
Like, we pay the artist to, like, put our logo in the corner of the videos, and he's just like, gosh, what does that symbol mean? And then he starts actively seeking us out.
It's like... It's a downhill spiral into finding out about us, and then eventually it's like, what?
He finishes
what the fuck?
He finishes beating his meat to the hentai, and then notices our cameo.
And then that leads to another thing, another artist, and it just keeps going, keeps spiraling down. And eventually, we'll have it to where we can, like, I don't know, maybe we'll those sort of fan translations, you know, that they normally do on those bootleg hentai sites for stuff that, I mean, not hentai sites. Well, hentai sites work fine. We could do that. That's dependent.
But yeah, I know what you're talking about. Yeah.
Or anime sites, the sort of fan subtitling that exists for shows that have not been picked up by any network. such as the one and only Monster that nobody else talks about but me.
I remember the translation for that seeming like it was pretty good.
That one was good just because it's been
I remember
ages,
it being pretty
and I
good.
think it was handled pretty... I think that one was actually handled by a company. The only issue is it just never came overseas because it got caught up in sci-fi. But regardless, I'm saying we get one of those fan dubs to do one of those bootleg anime dubs, right? But at the start, it's just like this dub was... What if we translated an anime dub, basically? And then we put our name on the front of it.
We don't speak Japanese.
That's okay, we can guess.
You know, that's another thing about a lot of these artists, is I'm pretty sure a lot of them don't speak English.
Okay, that's a fatal flaw in our plan here. I do admit
Like,
the plan
like
has some flaws.
75% of those tweets I see from those artists are all like in Japanese.
All right,
almost always.
You've solved my anime hentai puzzle, right? you've solved
Oops.
my puzzle.
Just
Shit.
trying to check to make sure I'm on guard.
Oh.
You know?
Also, alright, so just a few things at the top before we get started. So first off, upon editing the last episode, I realized, one, I use a little too much vulgarity, and so I'm gonna try and catch myself. So Bryce, if you catch me being a little bit vulgar,
A little bit rowdy.
I need you to club me like a seal.
Okay. I got you.
All right. Well, this is
Got-
gonna
got my-
be.
Got my pipe ready to go.
All right. Well, this is gonna be peak entertainment, I'm sure, in the future. But you know, I've made a resolution that I want to try and be a little bit more wholesome. You know, because what better to go hand in hand with anime than being wholesome? Because anime, as we know, is a very wholesome medium in which they do not show any
Mostly.
close-ups of titties ever. Never happens.
Never.
I've never seen it happen where there's a good show that just shows just a little bit too much underage titty. That's never happened to me. That's definitely not all of Evangelion.
Yes. Of course not. My favorite show, Evangelion, with my favorite girl, Asuka.
Asuka, my favorite girl. She is my waifu, even though she is 14 years old. But it is legal in
that's
Japan.
Okay.
I don't even think that's legal in Japan anymore.
I don't think it is, but
Can't use that defense now, can ya?
take that, weebs.
Fair enough. Okay, so we have two sort of major things that we want to follow up on. Probably, I guess we should do that first and then go into weeks, or yeah.
Let's start with the anime.
Okay, then let's start first with the show. We're gonna
Yes.
talk about Cannon Busters. I brought Cannon Busters up last time on the podcast for a very, very short time. I mentioned it very shortly and gave sort of a brief rundown of it, but now we're gonna discuss it just a little bit more in depth, and like I'll see if I can put like a little link or something to go, or a time code or whatever to go to skip this for any spoiler reasons. But Bryce finally sat down and watched Cannon Busters. We both finished it. This madman sat down and watched the entirety of it in like a single day.
Yes. Yesterday morning.
Yeah, he watched 2 episodes previous, and then yesterday morning just beelined it through it. And I have no idea how he does this stuff. Where he just...
It took about, what was it? It was like 3.5 hours, 4 hours.
That is insane. But...
I mean, I wasn't doing anything, so like, you know.
Fair enough.
Whatever.
And what better way to spend Thanksgiving than watching anime, you know?
Exactly. It's not like my family were around anyway.
But regardless, so I guess first off, a quick rehash of what Cannon Busters is. It's sort of a mech show mixed with a little bit of Cowboy Bebop and a bit of Space Dandy. And there's a lot, there is, as it goes on, a lot more fantasy elements are introduced to it as well, which are kind of their own thing. But it's very unique. It has one of the best intros I've seen in a hot second. I really like that intro track and sort of the entire feeling of the soundtrack and everything like that. It has one of the better soundtracks I've sort of heard in a while. And I should also mention, Bryce, because I'm not sure I mentioned it before, but this show was kickstarted.
Was it really?
Yeah, Cannon Busters was kickstarted.
But isn't it like a Netflix original?
Yeah. It was kickstarted for most of its budget, and then it got the rest by Netflix. It got actually picked up by a network.
Interesting. I mean, it's pretty damn good for being a Kickstarter.
Yeah, it is.
It's for the most part pretty sleek. Like
the dub is kind of. I'm not sure if you watch the sub or the dub.
I watched the sub.
Yeah, I watched the sub too. The dub is kind of trash. I watched it. I watched a little bit of it. It's not amazing. It's not like, I mean, it's not horrible, but it's also like not good. It's just that sort of one of those dubs where the line reads aren't as good as they maybe could be.
The words don't match up very well.
Yeah, there's another dub we're gonna talk about here today pretty soon when I get into talking about the games I've been into recently. That's really bad, but
okay.
And I'm sure you have an idea of what one that's in reference to, but
You're talking about Goku dolls.
Oh no. This is about games.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Goku Dolls had an amazing dub.
Goku Dolls dub is what made that show stand out, if anything.
Those like the line reads were so like insanely over the top that it was just hilarious.
But no, so regardless, for Cannon Busters, I guess overall, what are your sort of thoughts about it?
I mean, I didn't even know it was a Kickstarter, to be honest, and like not knowing that, I still thought it was like the animation was really good, the story was really good. I loved all the characters. I mean,
Philly is such a piece of shit.
It's fun, yeah, but Philly kind of like turns around a bit towards the end.
He does, and it's I'm still hopeful for that season 2, even though it's been 3 years.
Wait, that aired 3 years ago?
I'm pretty sure it was 2016.
Oh, I thought it was more recent than that.
It might have been last year. I don't remember. It's been a while. Cannon Busters is one of those shows I heard about a while ago. And it's also been in production forever. Like, it was in production since, I think, 2010. Because of the Kickstarter stuff, when they were just doing episode per episode. So, it's kind of been one of those. But, I think it did get released, like, a year or two ago. It's been pretty recent, and I did actually look around, and it seems like the director is set for a season 2. He's just working on other anime projects for Netflix at the moment, so that's good.
The dream is not dead.
The dream is not dead.
Okay, that's good to know.
But overall, yeah, it's a fun little. I thought it was a fun little like road trip adventure sort of anime. I really like.
There's a lot of weird shit.
It's literally just a road adventure of cute little robot Sam, who, bro,
top tier, top fucking tier.
Sam is very cute. But yeah, so it's just a cute little adventure with Sam, the little robot companion. They have Casey. Yeah,
Casey's great, dude. I was so
great.
sad when she tried to deactivate herself.
Rough.
That was tough. That was tough.
There's a junkyard episode in which Casey very heavily thinks about just junking herself, and that one's pretty rough.
That was one of the sadder episodes.
That was one of the best episodes in the show, flat out. And then there's a Philly, the main character, who from the start you kind of figure it's going to be like, I mean, he looks like a very Spike type character. He looks like the type that's going to be like the charming rogue, but he's just a piece of shit. Oop, there, I did a vulgarity, but
he's kind of just a jackass up until like the last 2 episodes.
He is just a terrible, terrible person. You like the the first episode starts with him walking out of the bathroom after having to like
Take after rushing poo.
After rushing it, he walks out and immediately gets shot, which I loved.
Gets his chest blown open.
Just immediately right off the bat. But I do really, I really like his design, the tattoo stuff and all that. Him just also I do like the fact that it is shown in that show that he can regenerate like near instantly. He just doesn't because it's normally not safe to.
Yeah,
and he just does it to hide
right away.
Yeah, so he normally just does it to like hide, like like an animal or something. It's pretty interesting. I do like the fact that he's also not like very competent in terms of fighting ever. Like he's constantly like, tripping over and stuff. Yeah, he's like constantly tripping over and crap while he's running away from gunfire and stuff like that. Like he's really
he also never has enough ammo.
He's really not like a Spike type who like Spike is a very trained person in terms of what he does, and then you have Philly the kid over here who is like tripping as he's running away from combat, and like he constantly misses shots and stuff like that. So I thought that was pretty interesting for him.
What was your favorite episode?
Thinking back,
I know what mine is.
I would probably say either the Junkyard episode is strong, like really strong. The episode with Nines is also great. I like Nines a whole lot.
Nine is amazing. He was a great character. He's super fun.
Nine...
I also like how he's like 30 years old and he looks like he's 70.
Yeah. I also like the fact that they address at the start that he stinks terribly. And then it's just never talked about again.
The first scene with him is him crawling out of a pile of garbage drunk.
And then everybody's like, oh god, he smells terrible. It smells like death. But
Philly also smells, apparently.
What is it with anime boys being smelly? It's been like
apparently
Philly the kid and Nine over here, and then we had like Misto who smells like trash too, apparently.
They got more important things to worry about than showering, apparently.
I still like that Mista canonically smells weird. He's canonically like smelly.
Trish was like, you smell like trash.
Mista, take a shower.
But my favorite episode was the one with the fetter.
Yes.
The one mage dude who drains Philly's life force.
That was also a very good one, yeah.
That episode was pretty hype. That was a really cool battle scene.
That one was great.
With, Sam.
The overall ending battle scene also with the Sam mech. I really like the Sam mech design. Yeah, the Sam mech design is like really cute. It's like rounded in a way. Even though it's like the most deadly thing ever, that mech design is like round. It literally looks like a chibi cute mech. It's pretty great. And then the face is like really realistic. The face is like spooky, scary, and then the rest of the body is just this rounded sort of.
It looks like an ice golem from Skyrim.
It's very, very epic. But
I like how Philly becomes like kind of good right at the end, and then the show just ends.
Yeah.
But the thing we got to look forward to is that 9 will definitely be in season 2. Because he said he was going to travel with them.
All of those hot looking characters are going to be in season 2 if season 2 ever exists. And
oh god, the enemies.
Enemies in that show. the no arm girl is very cool.
The no arm girl.
The Rayman girl.
There's just like the Russian lady, and then there's the dude that looks like a Soviet ninja.
The Naruto character. Oh my god, I love the Naruto fight he had with the bootleg Guts character was very cool.
And then he just gets like destroyed in one hit.
I really the little cast of characters is great. I'm excited for season 2 because season 1 basically it set up a lot of stuff It gave you sort of time to get used to the world, but I feel like season 2 is going to be a lot more of like, if it does exist, a lot more of the sort of battle side of things. So we would probably get a lot more of like fighting between that cast, because oh boy, some of them are the most. They're literally like a meme squad of characters that just have.
They're like JoJo characters.
Yeah, they just have.
They're
incredibly
just like
dumb.
all ridiculous.
I don't even remember what the Russian lady does. She just has like a little jetpack in back.
And she's like, she's strong. She just punches really hard.
And she can fly.
And can fly.
But like, that's it.
Yeah, I don't know. But I'm holding out. I'm holding out for season 2. So
am I, because I really enjoyed it. And I would enjoy seeing Bessie back. I really like the Bessie mech. I think it's great. I also like that car is gigantic. As it should be.
It's so big.
And the first time you see it, it doesn't look as big, but then for the rest of the show, it's drawn like really fucking big. Like it's a big, it's a tank.
Like you're sitting next to like a building and it's like longer than the fucking house.
It is.
And you're just like...
It is like massive when you see it later. It looks like a tank. But yeah, so overall, Cannon Busters, it was a very, very small release that came out on Netflix at some point, and it feels like it was just kind of lost to the ether, sadly.
It's got pretty decent reviews.
I like everybody that talked
people
about
that have watched it liked it.
Yeah, everybody that I've ever heard talk about has been like, this show's great. I think it's just a matter of like, it got a trailer ahead of time before its Netflix release, and then it wasn't really promoted for much. And I mean, anime fans don't go to Netflix to watch anime, and as much as Netflix keeps wanting to change that, like it's sadly not going to happen unless they make something that's a little bit more focused towards it, or that promotes it a little bit better, because stuff like this just gets lost. Like the only running quote-unquote anime stuff would be I mean, Neo Yokio was one, but that barely counts. That's an American animation. It's just handled by a Japanese studio.
Unpopular opinion for everyone, Neo Yokio is amazing.
Bryce, you're gonna get us slaughtered. Even though we both like Neo Yokio, you're gonna get us slaughtered.
I know, but it's worth it because it's so funny.
I think Neo Yokio is a very fun comedy show. That's interesting. It is an American show. It's just handled by a Japanese animation studio, and it's misclassified as anime. It's literally just a comedy cartoon, similar to Boondocks. And I do love me some Boondocks, so. I wish there could be a second season of that, but it's all but confirmed that show has been canceled. Actually, I'm almost certain it is confirmed that show got canceled right after Pink Christmas.
Yeah, because everyone hated it for some reason.
Yep, everybody hated it, which is a shame. But what can you do? And besides, I mean, like, so like the only exclusive quote unquote anime stuff is like, I think that, and then there's Seven Deadly Sins. I've not watched Seven Deadly Sins. I don't know if that show's good at all.
I've heard from people that it's okay.
Okay.
But
maybe one day I might watch it. It just doesn't look very appealing to me. Like Cannon Busters I saw, and like the style of it, the style, the music, it all spoke to me, and I'm like, oh god, somebody made a show taking the thing I love. Somebody made Bebop but cowboys.
Yeah, it feels like a show that would have been made like 20 years ago or something.
It was really fun to watch overall. I really like the style of it. It has a lot of it personally had a lot of style. The only thing I wish it maybe didn't do is focus so much on the fantasy aspect of it. But I think that's going to be apparent when one of the main characters is just like immortal. So
yeah, so
magic needing to be a thing is fair. But okay. Besides that, the other thing I watched, because Rice had been hounding me to watch it, was a little movie called A Silent Voice, which I have been meaning to watch for a while. When did A Silent Voice release?
It was like 2015 or 2016. It was a few years ago.
It's been a bit then. Okay, so I watched A Silent Voice. And this is a movie I'd heard a good bit about for a while. I always heard it was very good. I just never really got around to watching it because a lot of a lot of stuff like that, or a lot of shows like that, where I hear it's good, but I hear like it's sad. You know, you need to be in the right mood to take that in. So, of course, what better time than Thanksgiving? So
how was it?
I mean, I loved it. I thought it was great. I think you with the you kept saying that it was gonna be a sad meme. You kept posting memes and being like, you're gonna be a sad man, and like I was.
I was sad.
Yeah, there's definitely parts in it. It ends very happily though, which is nice. But
you're gonna have to remind me, because I read the manga after I watched the movie, and it's been years since I've watched the movie. Where exactly does it end? Like, what's the final scene?
The school fair, and like he's able to finally look people in the face for the first time confidently, and that ends like that.
Okay. Yeah, it ends later in the book series.
Okay, well, I bet it makes it sad when it ends in the book series, then, doesn't it?
Actually, no.
Okay.
Actually, no.
Okay, good.
You'd like it.
Good.
You'd be happy.
Bryce, what I don't want is Unagi drop situation. I never want an Unagi drop situation again.
It makes you happy. I was sad when I finished the movie, and then I read the book ending, and I was like, okay, I'm happy now.
But, okay, so there's a lot to unwrap with that, and this isn't going to be, like, a full-ass, like, review. Just like it wasn't with Kane and Buster, more sort of a general opinion of it without giving too much away. But, basically, it's a movie about a guy who bullied a deaf girl in middle school when he was younger. That it starts off with him planning to kill himself, which, boy, what a strong intro.
Yeah, right.
What a strong intro that is. So it just sort of details him basically bullying this girl, and I guess yeah. So the main sort of female lead in this movie is a deaf girl, and which is why she is bullied in school and all that stuff. And for the good like front half of it, it's just basically kids being shitty. Kids being incredibly mean to this girl because she's different, because she's deaf. And like, it's rough because it reminds you of just like how trash
how shitty it was growing up in certain parts.
How bad people were in school and stuff with making fun of anybody who was even slightly different. There's a lot of very specific stuff with that right off the bat that stood out to me. The most important of which is that you can hear that the deaf girl's voice actor, you can hear her. I don't know if the actual person who voiced that character is deaf or what, but either way you can hear the sort of slurred, not quite right speech of
off key.
Yeah, the sort of how a deaf person would speak. Somebody who has not been able to hear since birth. They typically cannot pronounce like vowels and sentences and words like we normally would, because they don't hear the syllables or stuff like that. So having the actual voice actor, the few times that character does speak, sort of speak in that kind of slurred, hard to understand way, was a nice little touch that I feel like a lesser movie or a lesser show or whatever would have missed in order to try and make the girl like cute or whatever, which is a shame because that's just erasure of like an issue. But I really liked attention to the small stuff. It's also shown later on that the character that bullied this girl in middle school, grown up, he is very depressed, and one of the main things that is shown in the movie, which I thought was a great way of showing that, was the way it showed social anxiety, where it does this clever little trick of putting the little X's across everybody's face, as he is too afraid to look at anybody in the eye, basically, for a majority of the movie, outside of the few people that actually like talk to him. So it's a cute little movie. It starts off with that sort of strong intro bit, and then it kind of goes from there to this guy who feels guilty about, you know, sort of how he's acted in the past, and he's now sort of trying to rebuild his life, reconnect with friends, and set things right in a way. So for most of this movie, it's this happy little adventure of friends getting back together and sort of apologizing to this girl for being crappy to her after they reconnect and stuff like that. But overall, it's very nice. It's very cute. It was very fun. I really liked it. What's her name? Uano, the sort of black-haired girl that's just constantly a trashy character. Every time she showed up on screen, I was like, no, leave. Leave.
She never stopped being shitty.
She never stopped being just terrible for no reason. But so this movie was just a very nice little movie that's sort of about reconnecting and sort of making up for the past, growing as a person. It sort of covers the topic of growing as a person, I'd say. And I really enjoyed that. There's 2 scenes of attempted suicide ahead of time if you plan on watching it, and that may indeed need to be something you need to be warned about ahead of time. But they are, I think, done at least tastefully, done pretty well. The second one was that one actually did that one was the tear scene for me when I was like, no.
Is that the balcony one?
Yeah. Because that one sucks, because that one's just after things are going good. Things start
turning around.
Things are starting to get like better, and like people are starting to feel happy with themselves. And then like that happens, and I'm like, no, no. Thankfully, it continues past that point, and it does end in a nice bit. But overall, I thought it was a very good movie about sort of growing as a person. I really enjoyed his the little the like little round dude he had with the broccoli hair.
The short guy.
Yeah. the Hollywood shirt, dude. I really liked his Hollywood shirt.
There's a part in the book I want to talk about that was completely cut from the movie at some point here.
Oh boy.
That I think you'll appreciate.
All right.
So, there's a part in the movie or in the book series. I'm 99% sure this didn't happen in the movie. The group of friends that kind of gathered together around the deaf girl and all the broccoli hair dude and shit, they actually, so their school had a film festival, and they actually all got together and made a silent movie together.
Okay, yeah, that definitely was cut, but that would be that's very cute.
And like everyone in the school shit on it because it's like, why would you make a silent movie? But like they kind of made it like for her almost.
So, and is this I should ask, is this an upcoming? I mean, is this an ongoing manga series or?
No, it's done.
Okay,
it's been done for a while.
Cause
it's only 7 volumes. It's not super long.
Well, so I'm wondering like how much more stuff of them sort of just hanging out and being friends is there past the end and like that was cut out.
There's a bit more.
Cause like and then all of them being together and stuff like that stuff was great. It was nice and cute.
There's definitely a lot more of that. Then there's that big scene I was telling you about. That took up like a good half of one of the books. And then there's like a small part after the movie ends that they add on to.
Okay. That
makes it feel a bit more. It feels like it closed it off a bit better. Not bashing the ending they went with the movie, but I thought the version of the manga was a bit more.
I might have to check it out.
Felt more complete.
It feels like something that I think I'd be interested in checking out the manga if it's that much of a difference. But I really liked the movie of it at least. I liked the ending personally because I thought it left it was basically showing like, hey, this kid's finally ready to sort of take on life. And I was like,
it's a good adaptation. Don't get me wrong. Like after reading it, I was like, yeah, they missed a few things.
The movie had more of a focus, I think, on the main character having social anxiety and getting over it. And the theme of the movie, at least, was moving on and growing as a person. I don't know if the manga is as heavily implied, like that's as heavily hit.
Yeah.
But, like the movie is super heavy about that being the theme.
Oh, it's just as big, believe me. And they did an excellent job considering that they only had a 2-hour movie slot to translate that entire story.
I would say for 2 hours, it was pretty good. And if anybody listening to this hasn't watched it or read it, I guess I would at least give it a good old fashioned recommend. I enjoyed it very much, and personally, I feel like I should look into more of that writer or director movie. Like
they have another series out that same author. I have the first volume for it. It's called To Your Eternity. I haven't read it yet though.
Okay.
But I've heard it's really good.
I might need to look into some more of their work because as an intro to that one.
I think
was
that's
very
one of their
good.
first series.
For a first series, that one is very good. That's very solid. That's a solid thing to start out with.
Yeah, it's good stuff, and the manga art is also really solid too.
Yeah, fair enough. I might need to check that out. I mean, the best manga art there is currently, I think, is probably Hero Academia. I don't know if you've ever seen that manga, but
I've seen a little bit of it.
Yeah, the manga is basically drawn like the show is. The show is almost just traced with how it looks.
I'll be honest, I've never watched that show once.
Oh, I have. I haven't watched the new season yet, but I've enjoyed the shows for the most part.
I always hear people complaining about it.
Yeah, well, people always complain. I think it's very cute and nice.
I'm sure it looks fine. Doesn't seem bad at all to me. I mean, I'd probably check it out if I had more time. It's just like what it's on. Like, isn't it going into season 4 now? Something?
Yes, I think season 4.
Yeah. That's
I've kept up with it, but that's just me. Anyway, I've done a whole bunch of talking, Bryce. So let me hear what your week has been up to besides crunching through Cannon Busters like nothing.
I mean, that was a big part, but since it's Thanksgiving, I didn't really have work on Thursday and Friday, so I went home. And I started downloading a ton of mods for the original Mass Effect. And I started playing it on the hardest difficulty. And I've just been crying inside the entire time.
Has it improved the experience?
It's made me explore every corner of that game. Is what it's made me do.
I mean, okay, a bit of background on this bad boy. Bryce here, during high school, got incredibly addicted to playing Mass Effect. He spent like 600 hours in these games.
Okay, yeah. I don't know if it was 600, but it was a lot. I played like all of them like multiple times through.
He got really invested into Mass Effect, like hardcore.
But yeah, this is like the first time I've played it in like years. So I forgot a lot of things that happened.
Fair.
So and I also didn't really have a lot of the DLC because that's back when I played it on the 360.
Also because the DLC for 1 is kind of like not great if I remember.
X87's not horrible, but I don't think it's really brought up again. Except in Mass Effect 3, I think there's like a guy that gets away, and I think you run into him on the Citadel, and that's like the only tie-in that ever has. Which is kind of a huge deal because an asteroid almost obliterates like 5 million people. So like, that's kind of a fucking big deal.
It's just never addressed.
I played the DLC in 2. The only DLC I ever played in 3 was the Citadel one. I never played Leviathan or Omega or anything. So I still haven't.
Mass Effect annoys me just because every other game I've like ever played will put out the game with all of its DLC eventually, right? I don't think Mass Effect has ever done that. And that upsets me because I've never played half the DLC for that game. And I'm not gonna like, in order to get it, I remember the first time around you checked it, it was like over $120 something just to get the essential DLC for Mass Effect.
Yes. I bought all of it. Not that I wanted to, but I did.
Yeah,
and I still haven't played any of them for free.
What is annoying, particularly, is that for the way Mass Effect works, there are what are essential DLCs, and then there are sort of non-essential ones. The ones in 1 are generally non-essential, so you don't need to buy them. The ones in 2 are like super essential, if I remember correctly.
There's Shadow Broker, which is very essential, and then there's There's Overlord, which isn't super essential, but it's like a really kind of messed up side story that I think is important to play.
Then there's the one that leads into Mass Effect 3 that you need.
What's that one called?
I don't even remember it.
Arrival. It's Arrival. Like that. Yeah, so, that one's extremely important.
So that's 3 that you need to buy. You're forced to buy those 3. Those
Technically 2.
Two if you wanna skim. And that's alone like $30. So right off the bat. And then there's all the Mass Effect 3 ones, which technically you don't need to do any of those, but they're also the only continuation of that story you're gonna get.
Yeah. Like, Leviathan explains the whole Reaper origin story, which was never brought up in any aspect of the story besides there. And then there's Citadel, which is not story essential, but probably the most fun you'll have in that entire game. It's
so sad to me because, like, I really wish there was a way to play those games with all of their DLC. Because I would love to go back to Mass Effect and play them all again. Because I played through a lot of those games without a ton of the DLC. So I would like to go back now and replay them with a bunch of the sort of DLC side stuff. Like, I've never played Citadel. I haven't played Citadel. I haven't played any of the Mass Effect 3 DLC because I'm like, I don't really want to pay $120 to experience this full story on top of the like $30 we'll have to pay for the whole HD collection now.
Yeah.
Also, I don't know why there hasn't been an HD collection on PS4. There never was.
There probably never will be.
I don't know. I don't know why they didn't do that. The only thing I can think of is
getting it on PC and modding it is the closest thing you're gonna get to an HD.
EA doesn't really like to do the remastered games, which annoys me to all heck. Because Mass Effect is one of those and Dragon Age as well would be one of those series that like I'd love to see just all the games bundled into one and re-released.
Speaking of Dragon Age, aren't we due for another Inquisition in like another year or two?
Inquisition 2 is announced and coming out, but
Christ. I really didn't like the Inquisition story.
Hey, guess what? The DLC is super canon, apparently.
Do I? I don't want to go back and play 80 hours. I don't want to go back and play 80 hours of that game.
I don't either, but the DLC is apparently super important. I might just look up YouTube videos and get it sorted.
I really don't want to play that game again.
Dragon Age Inquisition.
I don't even know if I beat it.
I
don't even remember if I beat it.
The ending was terrible, so I wouldn't blame you.
Like, I don't even remember the last point I was in. All the areas are all boring, and the level of scaling in that game is horrible.
Don't forget that Inquisition, I think it did win Game of the Year.
It did. Well, what else came out in 2014?
Nothing. That was the year where like every game that came out was like broken and buggy. So
there was like Rise. There was Titanfall 1 was the only other good game, but that was like a multiplayer only.
Rise, Son of Rome. What a fun game that was.
God, that game was awful.
So, what did you actually like mod in Mass Effect, I guess I should ask.
So, there's a texture pack I downloaded called A Lot. And it redos basically almost all the textures in the game. So it like redid the hair textures. It made the face textures a little bit better. Rex,
yeah, Mass Effect 1 looks kind of terrible now.
Rex's face textures are like 20 times better, so he doesn't look like paper mache anymore.
Oh, hooray!
It fixes a lot of the lighting issues. It's just kind of overall improves the quality of the graphics and stuff. It's not like an overhaul, so like the gameplay and stuff is still pretty vanilla, but it like overhauls most of the visuals. So, and that's they have a pack for all 3 games that you can download, and I know the one for 3 has like a ton of stuff to download. And I also know that Michael was saying something about there's a mod called Expanded Universe for like 2 and 3 that adds like new star clusters and stuff to explore. So I'm probably gonna download that too.
That sounds like it's gonna be an interesting journey back through that franchise. But other than that,
God, playing this game on Insane though, man. Oh,
I don't know why you did that on Insane. You know Mass Effect 1 has terrible combat.
It's taught me that you have to do everything in a very specific order. Because the side missions, I don't know if they're level scales. So there's some side missions that are really easy, and then there's some that are really hard for no reason. So like I just had to give up on certain missions until I was like 10 levels higher and then come back. But you literally have to do every side mission if you want to survive any of the missions. Because the enemies are just so tough and you just get destroyed.
See, I will turn down the difficulty on combat if it's jank. I don't know why.
It's not. I think the worst part about the Mass Effect 1 combat is the way your squad mates react.
Oh gosh, yeah.
They just kind of run out and get hit by a rocket and then die. And that's it.
Good AI.
Until you give them an armor set that just makes them unkillable, they're basically useless.
Very, very cool AI.
I know there's mods to fix that, but like I didn't think about it until I was halfway through the game. And it's not really bad in 2 and 3, so it's like whatever at this point. It is what it is.
1 just is gonna have jank combat. I don't think there's any way to fix that. There might be a few mods that do, but like,
that game's not. The world's not interesting enough to make me want to spend that much time trying to fix it. Like the main missions are really good, but like that's it. There's not much going on the side.
Like that's kind of the way Mass Effect goes. Though the first one is very good story-wise. The second one is very good character-wise, but not story-wise. And then the third is like a mix of both that's kind of in between.
I just think of Mass Effect 2 as a big setup for Mass Effect 3.
That's literally all it is. The character stuff is fantastic in it.
I mean, if you think about it that way, it's a lot easier to appreciate it. Because I still think 2... I don't know. I always liked the character aspect of Mass Effect games more. Even though I say 1's my favorite, like... 2, you just, like, I'm engaged even if the story's not that good because all the characters are making it worthwhile for me.
Yeah, that's kind of like, it basically had more time to get used to or get invested in the characters, and then that investment carried over to 3, and 3 was a bit of a in-between road of, like, trying to do a good story, trying to do good character stuff, and, like, it really didn't do either as good as it probably could have, but it did both okay.
2 I also remember being the longest, if I remember correctly.
Maybe.
It was like, I think my longest playthrough I clocked was 50 hours with the DLC.
Something like that. Yeah. I think with all the DLC and everything, it's just because there's so many characters and so many side missions for them.
But yeah, that's pretty much all I've been up to this week. So how about you?
Oh boy. I have been up to, so anime-wise, it was just kind of going through Cannon Busters and going through Silent Voice. Also, before that, I should ask, before I get into my thing, do you have anything you're keeping an eye out? You mentioned something.
Yeah, there's a few shows that I looked up that caught my eye coming in 2020. There's a first one which I think is called Kabichu Sherlock. It looks like a mystery show kind of. So I got my eye on that. And then there's one called Somali and the Forest Spirit. And it looks like it's about like this. It looks like a stone golem dude, and like that's like raising like a small human girl. And this is like a world where like fantasy races have taken over and humans are like being pushed to extinction.
Oh gee, okay. That one actually does sound interesting. That one I actually might look into.
So I wrote that one down, and then
that one feels like it's gonna be one of those shows that that sort of just takes off and people like talk about.
But yeah, I wrote that down, and then did you ever see that anime Yuru Camp?
Yuru Camp. You need to remind me about like what it's about.
It's the cute camping show.
No, I haven't, but that sounds like it's incredibly wholesome.
Yes. The first season is called Yuru Camp. Literally all it is about cute girls camping, and it gives you camping tips.
Huh.
And, like recipes
literally
and
so
shit.
it's like the Buff Girl show.
Kind of. Yeah, that came out like I don't know, it was like a year ago or something.
Instead of getting fit.
Yeah. I was on the page, and there's a show with the same characters called Heya Camp. So I don't know if that's supposed to be like a season 2 or what, but that's scheduled for like a couple months from now, or next month or something. There was nothing for the description, but I wrote it down, and I'm gonna keep my eyes out. So
I feel like it's fair to mention here the differences in Bryce and me's anime taste. Bryce is much more of a fan of slice of life. Like he'll eat slice of life shows up like they are crack. he will zoom up and he will consume.
Yep.
I am much less of a slice of life type person. I prefer more story-oriented shows, Bebop, Serial Experiments Lane, Evangelion, stuff that's generally more plot heavy, more philosophy heavy. Like just recently, the stuff I've been watching has been very, I'd say mostly plot heavy stuff.
You have to have your balance.
I do a few slice of life, like Love is War I did recently. I do slice of life if I need it, but I generally consume. I get less invested.
Love is War was like a special case. I feel like that show seemed out of place during that anime season. It felt too good.
So
at least to
okay,
me.
I thought it was great too. But so anyway, for me, my week, stuff I was watching. Speaking of plot heavy stuff, first one we'll get right out of the way. The only other anime I've been watching besides Cannon Buster, besides Silent Voice, is Jinro, the Wolf Brigade. I recently watched this finally, and Bryce has heard me going ham about it because I love the designs of the armor, the Panzer outfits a lot. The Panzer Cop Protect outfit.
Oh, okay. I had a hard time remembering what you were talking about. Yes, I know what you're talking about.
Yeah, the big beefy sort of design that looks like a Killzone design. It also kind of looks like the New Vegas armor set.
So when did that come out? Exactly.
Jinro?
Yeah.
Jinro was 2000 or somewhere around that. But that series has existed since like the 80s, I'm almost certain.
Then Killzone definitely ripped that off because the first Killzone came out in like 2002 or some shit.
Bryce, that design has been influenced. Like, it has influenced so much, dude.
Oh, I believe it. I believe it.
That I watched that movie. That movie is fantastic. It's a military movie. That's a very psychological military movie about people double-crossing people. And it's set in this world of Japan where after the bombs fell in Japan, instead of uniting as a nation and sort of rebuilding, it split the country.
There is sort of this anti-government force that exists, and then there is a third military force that is created to help with these riots. That is called I don't remember what it's called, but that third group is basically a military army. They're a military police force, and they come and like disperse riots and stuff. But so the first 15 minutes of that movie is probably the most fitting, amazing thing ever. It starts off with a bang. It starts off with this little girl who is carrying an explosive device through the sewers. It's this little girl, and she's a delivery person. And the Panzer police basically apprehend this woman, and the main character, Fuse, he is the one who is tasked with basically stopping her. And as she's pulling the pin for this bomb to set it off, the main thing is he doesn't shoot. Every one of his sort of partners and people he's supposed to be working with, they're telling him to shoot and stuff, but he doesn't shoot. And so the movie sort of goes from there, and he gets court-martialed basically. Well, not court-martialed, but he gets put back into basic training because of the fact he failed the fire. He failed to shoot this child who set off an explosive device and nearly killed him in the process. But so it basically goes from there, and it's just this very slow thinking movie where it's that main character contemplating the idea of why didn't he shoot and stuff like that. And it's very, very good. I heavily recommend it to you, Bryce.
I'll probably check it out.
It is a fantastic movie. The imagery in it is phenomenal. It has probably some of the best imagery I've ever seen. And what I found out after I watched it is that is the third movie in a series. That is a much, much larger series. It's its own standalone thing that you can watch perfectly fine. But all the other movies and stuff in that series are like live action movies. The first one I found is called the Red Spectacles, and it's a Japanese live action movie. And so I think I'm gonna check out that series and sort of see where it goes. I know that I really, really enjoyed Jinro, like, a lot. I really like the world of Jinro. So more of that I'm into, and I really specifically like that suit of armor a whole hell of a lot. I feel like the creator did too, seeing as he created the universe all around it.
Oh yeah, it looks super cool.
It's, oh man, seeing it in action is great. But that movie is, speaking of Demo we talked about earlier, but Demo pointed me towards that movie from a video like 4 years ago or something, and it's just been on my backlog forever. But I heard it was so slow and melodic that like I was like, it's gonna be one of these that I have to be in the right mood for it. And at some point over the past few days, I just seemed to be in the mood for it, and like with all the Hong Kong riots and stuff, I couldn't think of a better time for it. So yeah, Jinro, really, really, really good. Like, oh my god, fantastically good. I didn't know it would be as good as it is, but it is a classic. It's made by the same dude who did Ghost in the Shell.
Really?
Yeah.
Huh.
He did Ghost in the Shell afterwards, or I think it was, he might have done Ghost in the Shell right before. And I think the reason he did it right before was because they told him that Jinro was too slow and boring and nobody would want to watch it. So he did Ghost in the Shell.
Well, Ghost in the Shell is great, so it sounds like they were both fantastic.
Yeah, they're fantastic. Jinro is way slower, but it has a lot of that sort of philosophy that Ghost in the Shell has. So, if you like Ghost in the Shell, you will probably like it because it has a lot of similar sort of psychology and sort of vibes in it. But, so that's the only other major anime I was watching. Besides that, I got really, really sick recently, like last weekend. Yeah, so I beelined through some games. First off, I finished Outer Worlds. That game falls off really badly in the second half.
So it's got like a bad ending?
I wouldn't say it's terrible, but like...
So it's a front-heavy game.
Yeah. It starts off strong, and it's really good, and then as you go on, it gets a little bit weaker, and just a little bit weaker. So it starts off strong, and then it ends kind of okay.
Like, it's not a terrible ending by any means. It just starts off really strong and then it ends in a place where it's kind of like, okay, that's not as interesting as I would have hoped. It so vehemently sticks to its guns of corporations being bad that I don't feel like it really added any twists or turns to that. Like it just felt, it stuck to its, and I guess that's fine. It stuck to its message, almost like exclusively. It stuck to its message of that.
Stuck to it almost a little too well.
Yeah, it never really improved. It never became like a gray area. There never became any sort of choices that were. There's nothing as good as that choice at the beginning. There is one choice I can think of that's almost as good, and that is later on you're given a choice of securing some chemicals that will help revive other colonists, much like you, that are frozen on a ship up in space. But in order to do it, there is a batch of chemicals that are hooked up to another existing sort of group of people that are being experimented on at the moment that are all in cryostasis. So if you take full 100% of those chemicals, you kill everybody in that building. All the people that are being experimented on die. And like that's a rough choice, because the other choice is to take only like 25% of the chemicals, which means you're reviving significantly less of the people on board that ship. And that was probably the only other choice that was like as up there. I don't feel like the rest of the game particularly had too much. And I think a main thing of it, with something like New Vegas, there's factions. And with that, you can join the factions and stuff like that. And you can do a little bit more story-wise. This game felt like it had a lot. It was a very story-focused game. And I think it was marketed as a game that was more open world than it was.
So it was more linear than you thought it would be?
The main story was a bit more linear. It doesn't really have a ton of like side content of like joining a faction or anything like that I would have hoped. Like, you never particularly actually join a faction, and there's no, like, faction quests or anything like that. At most, you just get, like, groups of people, and they'll like you or they'll dislike you, depending on if you work with them or whatever, and, like, it's nothing too deep. All in all, with that game, I still enjoyed it, like, a lot, but it did feel like it was lacking just a lot of, like, the small, polished stuff that it should have probably had. But overall, it was still strong. I still enjoyed my time with it. I don't feel a need to go back to it anytime particularly soon, but maybe eventually I'll do a second playthrough.
You think they're gonna add DLC to it?
Yes, there is 4 planets in that game right now that are on like the planet map that you just can't access because you need a nav key to get into. I think it's pretty clear that they're gonna do those planets as DLC. Honestly, or those are just there for world building. Who knows? But I think it's
that's probably going to be a game I'm just going to wait till all the DLC's out to get.
It's fantastic, but it doesn't really feel as replayable as like a New Vegas or something. Like, it's a really good story first way through, but like I really don't feel a need to go replay through it and see how different it becomes if I'm a bad guy in it.
Yeah, I see. Well,
and like at the end of the day, it sort of does what Mass Effect 3 does, right? Where it has all these smaller choices that you think are going to matter, and then at the end of the day, it's brought down to, like, 3 choices. And, and those only affect so much. So, yeah, that's kind of what it came down to, and it's just like, oh, I kind of wish there were more choices at the end of this, but instead it's kind of just the binary choices, huh? Well, okay. So there's that, and then I played Gears 5.
I saw you playing it, and so how was it, huh?
Gears 5 is the best Gears of War in the series.
Ooh, that's a bold statement.
It is single-handedly the best story in that series, dramatically so.
How?
I have liked Gears of War as a franchise a lot, just because I kind of like the weird and militaristic world that it's set in. I kind of think it's neat that it's such, like, it's... This world that it is set in is one in which the central government is a militaristic, fighting force that has like fighting is pushed to the front lines, and that's like the entire thing of it. And it's kind of weird to see that as a location. It's never properly addressed, but like the government of Gears of War is just a militaristic government.
Yes.
But anyway, so I've always kind of liked those games. Gears 5 is the best because it actually focuses on the characters again, and the actual story of it is significantly more impactful, and it has more weight to it, and it feels much deeper than 4 did. JD is also not the main character past Act 1.
4 felt like a shitty arcade game to me.
Yeah. So, okay, here's basically the rundown of what I think sold me the most. It starts off with you going to a settlement to help an evacuation or whatever. You go into the settlement, and it turns out that the evacuation, you know, it goes to crap. And the new sort of enemy is taking over, and they're crawling up out of the ground, and they're taking over, and it's more of a war than anybody wanted to believe. But it ends with the main character at the time, JD, who was the character of Gears 5. The entirety of Act 1, he's making these kind of really, really stupid, shitty choices that hurt other people around him. So he's doing all these choices and stuff like that, and he uses the Hammer of Dawn, which is like the big super weapon. He uses that without a sort of targeting beacon, so it just kind of goes haywire, and in the process, JD just gets put into a coma and loses an arm. And then he is not the main character anymore.
Oh.
Yeah, Kate is the main character of Gears of War 5.
She seemed like the most likable character in 4. So.
Yes, so the entire story is about her. I mean, you're probably not gonna play Gears 5, right?
I mean, I will if it's as good as you say it is.
Yeah.
I probably will eventually.
Okay, yeah, no. So she's the main character, and she investigates a lot of like her. The entire game's kind of about investigating her backstory and family stuff. And then it feels much more like a game than 4 did, basically. It feels more like a Gears game. Here's the weird thing. Gears of War is also open world. Gears 5 is open world for 2 entire acts.
Really?
Yes, but they're actually very good. Because what it does is it has these big open world sections with like side content. And you drive around on this little skiff thing. And then you get off the skiff and you go into small enclosed environments, and those are their own acts that take like a good decent chunk of time. So it's a massive open world that loads into smaller single like closed off corridor levels basically.
So let me ask you this: is there going to be a Gear 6?
Yes, but I'm interested in it because the ending of Gears 5 has you choose between the lives of 2 characters. You get to choose which one dies.
Oh, they're probably gonna if they're gonna make another game, they're gonna have to do a Mass Effect situation where they're gonna have to like port your save data.
Yep.
And have it affect the story.
It is. Gears 5 is
baffling. That's a change. That's a big change.
Gears 5 is baffling how story focused it is. It is like heavily story focused in terms of like they did so much with that like entire campaign that I was surprised playing it because it didn't feel like it felt like a Gears game, but at the same time like the stuff they were doing story wise felt like really bold for them to be doing. Like it had a lot of stuff like that where like you're making choices of like characters' lives and stuff like that, and like there was actual impact and stuff like that. Like I'm kind of surprised that Gears 5 is so good. It's like legitimately I think the best story it's had since maybe 2 or 3, depending on which one you like more.
I was more of a 2-person.
I preferred 3 just because I thought I liked the closure and stuff a little bit more, but I think it's by far their best story. I think it's the best story in that universe because it also takes a lot of time there's a lot of little sections where you're just kind of roaming through like towns, and that gives you a sort of chance to actually kind of look at the weird world that Gears takes place in.
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot of weird world building in it. Like it's bizarre how much like, because with these games you've kind of just grown into the thing where they're heavy action games where there's not going to be very much moments of like quiet, but Gears 5 has a lot of like moments of quiet to break up the gameplay. Like it feels like they learned everything they did from 4, which is, you know, changing nothing. It's just the same game again, but not aged. And I feel like 5 took everything they learned from 4 and actually implemented it. So if you can get it at some point in the future and play through its story, I would recommend it. The only issue
already $30, man. Like
the only
that game must not have sold well.
Oh no, it didn't, because Gears 4 is terrible. The only issue is playing Gears 4 story-wise. You probably should finish that.
I mean, I still got it. It's still sitting there. I've got an act left. It would probably take me a couple hours to beat it.
Sadly... Okay, so well, not so sadly, but there is a briefer that's like what happened in Gears 4 if you didn't play Gears 4. But I'd heavily recommend finishing it just because, like, character reasons and whatever. But they flip JD almost instantly in 5 because he's a terrible main character.
Fair enough.
He's just a trash main character, and I think we all knew it. But other than that, then there's the last game I picked up. A little game that I've been excited for a while that I haven't gotten around to playing, called Metro.
How was it?
I got around to playing Metro Exodus, and it is... Oh boy, there's a lot. I got around to playing that game. I booted it up, I played it, and the first thing I noticed was I was like, God, I don't remember this dub being this terrible.
Play it in Russian with the subtitles, man.
That's what I did. I was like, this dub is... No, I tried to play it, and like for 30 minutes I tried, but the voice acting was like terrible. The line reads were like legitimately awful, so I was just like, okay.
I don't remember the ones in 2033 and First Light being that bad.
They weren't that bad. They're significantly worse in Exodus for some reason. It's baffling why they are, but I just changed it over to Russian. Oh my god, it's so much better.
That's odd, because Exodus is probably a way better put together game than either of those games ever was.
Oof, you say that, but I have some things to say about Exodus right off the bat.
Is it a buggy nightmare?
It's not buggy. There's just a lot of stuff that's like... So I remembered playing the Metro games a long time ago. I loved the Metro games. I don't remember them having... They never had good gunplay, let's be honest. They always played like slow trash, and that's why you avoid the combat. But... So Metro Exodus still has that issue. The combat still doesn't feel good. I tried to play it on the hardcore mode first because I was like, I kind of want a realistic experience playing this game. I want it to feel dangerous. Hardcore mode makes bullets kill you instantly.
Ouch.
And there's not a cover system in the game. So...
Can you, like, lean at least?
No, you can't.
Oh, that's awful.
There's no leaning, there's no cover system, there's nothing like that. So I was like, alright, this goes back to normal immediately. Because there's a lot more like human combat in Exodus. But once it opens up, the entire first chapter of the game is like it's more like Metro 1 or Last Light, where it's the small cramped sort of subway sort of metro areas and stuff like that, right? And then it breaks out into an open world, and then the game just becomes Stalker.
Oh
yeah, I didn't expect it, but Metro Exodus is just like a weird Stalker game. Like it feels like Stalker 2. Like
interesting.
It's a kind of big open world game in the same way that Stalker is, where
you have these sort of areas to run around in. And like, so what it is, it's linear, but it's also open world, kind of like Outer Worlds, where like you land in it, where you arrive with your train in an area, and you explore around a certain proximity around the train in the open world and stuff like that. So it feels like a stalker game, because there's all these locations and stuff you can investigate, and like there's weapon crafting systems and modifications, and like you need to clean your guns and stuff like this. It's just it turns into from a Metro game to like a Stalker game, straight up. Like, this feels like Stalker 2.
Did you like it?
I mean, I love Stalker, so the answer is yes. I've enjoyed it so far. The only issue really is, like, Last Light came out in 2016, right? When was Last Light? Or 2013? It's been a while.
No, it was earlier than that. I thought it was like 2012 or something. 2011.
So it has been years since we've had a Metro game, and I think the biggest thing for me is like going back from. I just came off of Gears of War 5, dude, and that game's combat is polished, right? It's had years of polish. Metro does not have polish on its combat. The combat still feels terrible, and I think we were just more used to it back in the day. But these days, with modern controls, that's rough, dude. So, like, overall, yeah, I enjoy it. I enjoy the world of Metro a lot, but it's one of those games where, like, you have to get over the jank.
That game had a lot of hype building up to it, too.
Like, it's good. So far,
it fell flat for a lot of people.
So far, yeah, I mean, I pretty much had hype, and then, like, I heard nothing. So I have no idea if it's good or not, to be honest. But I love the series. I love Metro. I love Stalker. I love the whole world that's sort of based in. So I'm hoping that as I continue, I'll enjoy it a little bit more. But, like, right off the bat, there's just, like, things about it that I wish maybe got a little more polish. But other than that, that's kind of the major game I'm working through right now. After this, I'll probably play it more because I do enjoy it, like, a lot. But besides that, in terms of, like, what I'm looking forward to, I don't have a ton, honestly, right now that I'm sort of majorly looking forward to.
I'm sure I can find you something.
Oh, I'm sure there's stuff that exists right now, but there's nothing that has really, at the moment, gotten on my radar. At the moment, I'm kind of just excited a little bit to get around to like Death Stranding and Jedi Fallen Order. Death Stranding has a lot of memes on it.
I'm a lot more interested in Death Stranding than I am Jedi Fallen Order. I can tell you that right fair. Now.
I don't know. It's weird that, like, it feels like every game that I've cared about this year has come out now. There's nothing for this Christmas that I think is coming out that I care for.
I was actually surprised by how positive the reception was for Death Stranding, given what it is.
It's been mixed, dude.
I thought it was gonna get dog shit reviews, to be honest.
It's his most mixed game by far. It's just that people are, of course, bombing it review-wise. It seems like it's going to be incredibly, incredibly pretentious. But what Kojima
game isn't?
Yeah,
exactly. That's just kind of part of its charm.
I started you guys down the path of Metal Gear, and like I enjoy it, but like I don't know, I wasn't like rushed to get into Death Stranding, but I do want to get around to it eventually, just because of like I've seen a lot of the memes in that game, and they look really good.
I mean, I'm sure the story for it is really goddamn good, but like, it's gonna be a time sink.
Yeah,
because it's a Kojima game.
I have a feeling I'll get to that guy soon. Yeah, I at the moment, like right now, I want to finish the Metro, and sort of get through that, and then I think after I finish that I might be free to it, but we will see. But with that, I think that's kind of my week. Like, I don't really have anything huge I'm looking forward to movie-wise, like, because I just think it's sort of the end of the year and most people are wrapping up. I'll tell you, you know what, we didn't do it before, Bryce, but I'll tell you what I'm excited for, and you should be excited for. The smell of the game, baby. Guilty Gear 2020. Guilty Gear. The game that's going to get delayed into 2021.
Yeah, it's going to be like a year before we get to that, so...
it's supposed to be coming out late 2020, but I feel like that game's going to get delayed. But lately I've gotten Bryce really heavily into Guilty Gear. Guilty Gear is amazing. It's a really good franchise.
Yeah, it's something else, let me tell you.
Okay.
4K.
With that, with the Guilty Gear hype aside, we should move into questions before we end off the show today. So I guess, first thing, do you have any that you want to ask?
Yeah.
We have a little list of some, so we're going to each pick two and then go. So go ahead and pick one first.
So, what's the worst anime you have ever seen?
Boy, that's rough. In terms of like for personal taste, oh man.
It can be that, or like you just see this and you're like, it's pure garbage.
I try not to be too I try not to dunk on things too much. Like the easy one, of course, if I was a lesser man, would just be to say like, oh, Sword Art looks terrible, but for the people that watch that show, like whatever, I would probably.
But the thing is it looks good. Like
there was a show.
The animation is solid.
What was it called? Like Chain Breakers or something like that. God, I don't remember what it is. Oh wait, no, I know, Berserk. Oh god, that took me way too long to get to that. It took me way too long to get to it. I was gonna say like Chain Breakers or whatever the hell that show was called, but no. The 2016 Berserk is one of the most disgusting, terrible abominations I've seen, and I also hate it because it ruins my chances of getting a good Berserk show. So I'd say that is probably my least favorite. Because that one is dashing my hopes while they continue to exist. That one's just like a kick in the balls while I'm already down.
Weren't the Castlevania people talking about making a Berserk show though?
Yes, the Castlevania people, for the people that make the Netflix Castlevania show, are like, hey, we want to make a Berserk show, and then Netflix has the rights for Dark Horse Publishing stuff at the moment, so they technically have the rights to do Berserk.
There's hope.
So we might be seeing that Berserk show soon. Oh!
Dude, in a few years, we might finally have a Berserk show that isn't awful.
But Bryce, my friend, what is your least favorite thing?
Oh god. Citrus is pretty bad.
Not a fan of citrus, huh?
My experience with Citrus was because I was over at Nick's house, and he was on my Crunchyroll, and all of a sudden he just started watching a bunch of weird Yuri anime, and then he started watching Citrus, and I was like in the kitchen cooking something,
Smile.
And then they were like, they were just like talking about how they were sisters, and then they just started kissing each other, and I was like, wait, what?
Oh no!
What?
Hang on! Oh no!
And I was like, all right, Nick, time to turn this off. This is garbage. I'm not into this weird shit.
This is not okay. This is not okay.
Yeah, that one was definitely down there.
All right. I have a question then. What is a show you have particularly loved that was ruined by like the manga adaptation? And I already know mine. Like, okay.
Ruined by the manga?
Yeah, like a show you watched, an anime you watched, or whatever, like a movie that was really good, and then you like looked into the manga, and the manga continued past a point and ruined everything that the story did. Cause I know mine.
Oh god, that's hard.
I don't know. I don't even know if you've had that experience. I've had it with one show, the worst.
I'm like trying to think of like usually I like read or watch one or another. I don't always watch both unless I really like it. And I'm just trying to think what I've seen both of besides like JoJo or something. You go ahead with yours. I want to hear yours.
Mine is Unagi Drop.
Oh, okay, yeah, you're talking about that.
This Unagi Drop was a show about a dad, well, a guy. He's like a middle-aged single otaku dude. His grandmother dies, I think, and her granddaughter does not have a home to go back to, so he adopts this girl. The show is about him raising this girl, and it's a very cute little show. And then the manga is just about them, how the daughter, when she's 16, forces him to marry her, and then forces him to have sex with her, and like forces her dad into a weird relationship. And it's like, this is awful. No. The manga cuts off before it, but like, God, it ruined it. It just was, it was not good.
Yeah, I don't think I've had that experience yet.
I think the only one where it applies otherwise might be like Full Metal Alchemist, where like you see the original show and you're like, all right, and then you read the manga and like the ending is completely different. Shows where the ending is completely different might be the ones to get away with that. Where the ending,
yeah, but usually it cuts off before like the ending would actually occur, and there's more shit afterwards.
Yeah, that's fair.
That's usually how it goes. It's not usually just like this cuts off here, but something different happens right here. That's usually not how it goes.
That's fair. Yeah, there's not too much where it happens. The only one I've really heard of where it's bad is Unagi Drop, where I really legitimately enjoyed the show, and then like some other source material made me like go, oh no. I guess the only other one where you might do that is Fate. Do you ever have a moment of Fate where you're like, all right, this story is good, and then another part of Fate retroactively ruins that?
That's like everything all the time with Fate. Like, you watch or read any form of Fate media, and it's contradicting itself in a different spot. So you learn to just stop caring after a while.
Please, Fate, just give me good show.
It can't keep its own story straight half the time.
Very epic.
Because it's always changing.
That's always good.
But fuck, I guess. Hit me with another one, since I wasn't really able to answer that.
All right. What can you? Okay. What's a game or show or movie that you like that like is just hated? I mean, the easy one here is gonna be Neo Yokio, but let's beyond Neo Yokio.
Oh, beyond Neo Yokio. I'm trying to think of what's on my bookshelf or what kind of anime I watch. I really liked ReZero, and I know a lot of people hate that show.
I've never watched that show, and I've like seen it, and it looks like it's going to be a generic show.
I don't know. I liked it, and I know a lot of people like shit on it. I don't know, but that's like a series that like I read a lot of the books for, and the books are a lot better than the show.
I see.
So it's like I'm just kind of stuck in hell, basically.
Stuck in a hell. I mean, people make fun of you for being in a Fate. I don't got you on a
But like that's easy bait. That's easy bait.
That's easy bait.
Like I knew what I was getting into when I started watching that. I'm trying to think of games that like you guys shit on me for. Like, well, let me ask you that. What game have you seen me play that you're just like, why are you playing that, you fucking loser?
The only one that has even been brought up that you actually bought would be Hyperdimension, but I don't think you've ever played that game after buying it.
I played it briefly, but like not like with a purpose.
But I haven't seen you pull up too many games where I'm legitimately like, what are you doing? What is this?
I guess Evil Within's up there.
Oof, Evil Within is one that I'm also kind of like. I like
a lot of people hate that game.
Yeah,
but I thought it was really good.
Yeah, they sure do. I can tell you. I mean, my ones are like, you know, I thought Halo 5 was pretty okay, and people hated that game universally.
I don't know. Halo 5, I don't know. I guess I kind of liked it. Like, it just felt like that it just kind of fell flat in a lot of aspects, and I thought the fact that they were trying to make a Osiris team more important than Blue Team was kind of like stupid.
So I guess
their Master Chief Squad's infinitely more interesting.
The reverse of this question would also be like a property that everybody else loves, but you just have no interest in. And my one's gonna be Fate on that.
I mean,
Fate are like 90% of slice of life shows.
I mean, I'll admit, like, it's not for everyone, and you're probably not gonna like it. But for some reason, I'm just drawn to it. For some dumb reason.
It's always there, much like One Piece.
A series that I've thought about picking back up recently that I forgot about for the longest time was Marduk Scramble.
I thought you were gonna say Monster, you piece of shit.
I mean, Monster's in there, but that's a lot more of a time drain than something like Marduk Scramble would be.
That's fair.
Because I have like 4 of the books, and I remember them being really good. And then I'm pretty sure that series does movies. I don't know if they do shows or not. But those were made like years ago, so I don't really know. So I got one for you though.
Oh boy.
So what's a guilty pleasure anime for you?
Let me.
You gotta have one.
Let me think. Something that I enjoy.
Editing out all,
be too embarrassed to.
Editing out all this people walking upstairs is gonna suck.
I mean, like, I trash on Kobayashi's Dragon Maid. But it's also very cute.
Save though. Dragon Maid's pretty good, isn't it?
That
came out when we were like juniors in high school, and I remember like a bunch of like the people I was in class with would make fun of me for liking that show.
That's because there's like a lot of like lolly bait in that show. I really wish there wasn't. Okay, no, the other one, Goblin Slayer.
Goblin Slayer.
You
keep going from loving that show to hating it.
Because I hate it, but I also like it's a guilty pleasure of me. Because it's a
stupid show.
It's a terrible, terrible show, but like the Goblin Slayer himself is my like the moment where there's a moment in that show where like a girl is like, "Will you stay with me? I'm scared of goblins. Will you slay them for me?" And he's like, "If you need me, I will be there." And she's like, "Even in my dreams?" And he's like, "Yes, I'm the Goblin Slayer." And I'm like, "Oh my fucking god, this show!" So I'd say that because Goblin Slayer legitimately makes me laugh with how bad and like how oh god, how hard it tries to be super cool sometimes.
Yeah, like that was a good gag anime for me.
And then there was like also a moment where like he's waking up in the morning undressed from his armor, and like he's in 2D animation, and then he dresses up in the armor, and like the camera cuts away from him for a second, and it cuts back, and all of a sudden he's in 3D. I'm like,
I remember
he puts back on the 3D armor. Oh no, he's entered the next dimension.
Oh my god.
So that one might be up there in terms of like, I know that show is like not good, but like, god, it's enjoyable sometimes how dumb it gets.
You got one more for me?
Questions wise, no, but
Yeah.
that's also because we're like over 30 minutes, so we should be.
All right, you know what? Fair enough. Oopsies. Sorry to keep you all so long.
Yeah, that's a big one, but at the end of the day, I think we had some
relatively good conversations, but we have to leave off, Bryce. We have to leave off. Oh god, my voice cracked there. We have to leave off with a brilliant idea, Bryce. We need an idea. We need a gem. See, last time, the Asuka meme. The Asuka meme was a good idea of where to start, but I don't know if it's quite there yet. You see, we need a strategy. We need something we can use to climb the ladder.
Well, it is December coming up.
It is December.
You know what happens in December, right?
What happens in December?
Padoru with Padaroo.
Okay, alright. See, Padaroo is a very hot meme, so...
We gotta post Padaroo memes.
Should we record
People
our
love
own
that
version
shit.
of Padaroo?
Yes.
Okay, well...
People will eat that shit up. It's gotta have like a spin to it though. Something that makes it unique.
I mean, so we could just put Santa Saber, but I don't know if Santa Saber is enough. What if we...
It will help.
What if we have Santa Saber, and we have us singing Padaroo, and then we also incorporate the Asuka meme into there. So she says...
So we have like a 3-for-1.
It's Wednesday, or as I like to say, Christmas.
That can be the backdrop while the sprite is dancing across the screen.
And then the sprite is dancing on the screen, and then it's us just singing Padaroo.
Oh god, that's like a deep fried meme. I can tell. That's gonna be
I
bad.
think that will get people to the channel if we post that.
And then we gotta bass boost it right at the end during the last line.
Oh, good.
And then just cut. And then just we gotta make it better, you know.
And then we'll do like with the Dark Knight Joker movie, where they have the Mountain Dew commercials in there. We'll just be like, subscribe to Bryce and Gabe's Bizarre Adventure on YouTube.com.
Sponsored by Mountain Dew.
Sponsored by Mountain Dew. Sponsored by Monster Energy Drink, Norman Reedus' favorite drink.
We gotta have that picture of Dante holding a monster too. I'm really happy I found that, by the way.
I really like the Dante meme. See, we should find a way to. We need a way to like incorporate all these memes into one sort of song that we can post on our channel, and then like that will bring in the views. So I'm wondering if we make this bad deep fried meme. If we make this one really terrible bad meme, if it will attract people to our fan base here, we gotta.
It's gotta be for someone out there, you know.
Now what about this? I had a terrible idea, Bryce. I had a terrible idea when we play Hyperdimension Neptunia together, Bryce. I had came to me in a dream.
Hyperdimension's gonna be a nightmare to get through.
Oh, who says we're finishing that game, but
we're just gonna boot it up, see what
play
happens.
some Hyperdimension Neptunia, see what happens. You know, if one of us ends up tapping out to jack off, you know, can't really blame us, can you?
See,
wait, aren't those kids? Aren't they kids in that game? Uh-oh.
Yes.
Uh-oh.
Yes.
All right, we need to end this podcast now before the police come. we need to end this podcast now. The lolly police are coming.
That game?
I own Hyperdimensia 1 through 3. I'm almost certain.
Okay. We're gonna have to like rock paper scissors to see which of us has to play it and which of us watches.
Oh no. Yeah, we'll figure that out. But you heard it here first, folks. We might be making a Neptunia video. Oh, good. And
guys,
a Padaroo video.
Wish us luck on that.
Yeah, we need to get that Padaroo video in the shop.
See you in 2 weeks.
See you in 2 weeks, everybody.